A text message was sent at 6:23 in the morning on October 7, 2017. 4 words. Out early, don't wait. The person who received it knew immediately something was wrong. Not because of what the message said, but because of what it didn't say. No punctuation. No capital letters. Grammar that was completely wrong. And the woman who supposedly sent it? She was a nursing student. Meticulous. Detail-oriented. Someone who never, not once in 2 years of friendship, had sent a text like that. By that afternoon, she was reported missing. By the next day, police found her car 23 miles outside the city. In a place she had absolutely no reason to be. Doors locked. Windows up. Keys in the ignition. Her purse sitting on the passenger seat. Her phone right next to it. Dead battery. And her shoes. White sneakers she wore everywhere. Sitting on the passenger floor. Like she just stepped out for a moment and planned to come right back. Except she never did. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back. Positioned for someone much taller than her. And when forensics processed that car, they found something that changed everything. Male DNA on the steering wheel. Someone who wasn't in any database. Someone unknown. Someone who had driven her car to an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere and left it there like a ghost. But here's what makes this case different from every other missing person story you've heard. This woman didn't just vanish. She left clues. Breadcrumbs. A trail that led investigators into a world of pharmaceutical fraud, corporate corruption, and conspiracy that reached higher than anyone expected. A trail that suggested she didn't disappear because someone took her. She disappeared because she chose to run. And 8 years later, her family still doesn't know if she's dead or if she's out there somewhere, living under a different name, watching them grieve from a distance, waiting for a day that may never come when it's finally safe enough to come home. Like and subscribe to this channel to keep stories like this alive. This is her story. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end, you're going to have questions that keep you up at night. Nia Holloway was 24 years old. Nursing student at the University of Vermont in Burlington. Final year. On track to graduate with honors. Volunteered at the local hospital. Mentored younger students who were struggling. Her professors described her as someone who would make an extraordinary nurse someday. The kind of person who remembered patients' names. Who asked about their families. Who stayed late to make sure someone wasn't alone. She lived in a small apartment just off campus with her roommate Sarah. They'd met freshman year. Became inseparable. Had inside jokes and routines and the kind of friendship where you don't have to explain yourself because the other person just knows. Friday, October 6, 2017, started like any other day. Nia went to lectures. Met friends for coffee. Spent the afternoon at the library preparing for an exam. At 9:47 that night, she posted a photo on Instagram. Her textbook spread across a table. Coffee cup in the corner. Caption, Anatomy never sleeps. Her friends commented. Sent encouragement. Laughing emojis. You got this. Everything looked normal. But at 11:03 that night, something happened that nobody noticed at the time. Someone logged into Nia's Instagram account. Not from her phone. From a completely different device. The login came from an IP address traced to a location outside Burlington. Somewhere Nia had never been. Whoever accessed her account didn't post anything. Didn't like photos. Didn't send messages to her friends. They just looked. They watched. They scrolled through her life like they were studying her. At 10:15 that night, security cameras caught Nia leaving the library. She walked past the student center at 10:22. Earbuds in. Backpack over her shoulder. She looked completely normal. Relaxed even. But at 10:47, something changed. Nia pulled out her phone. Opened Google. And typed 4 words that would later send chills down investigators' spines. How to tell if you're being followed. Stop and think about that for a second. What makes a 24-year-old woman, walking a path she's taken hundreds of times, suddenly feel like someone is watching her? What makes her stop in the middle of her walk home and search for advice about being followed? Was it a sound behind her? A shadow that moved wrong? A car that slowed down when it should have kept going? We'll never know. Because Nia Holloway never made it home that night. The next morning, Sarah woke up to that text. Out early, don't wait. Sent at 6:23 a.m. And Sarah knew immediately. Deep in her gut. The way you just know when something is wrong with someone you love. That wasn't Nia's voice. Nia used full sentences. Proper grammar. She said, "Good morning," and "I'll see you later," and "Don't forget to lock the door." She didn't send abbreviated texts with no punctuation. But Sarah tried to convince herself she was overreacting. Maybe Nia had an early shift. Maybe she was in a hurry. Maybe everything was fine. She got ready for class and left. At 10 o'clock, her phone rang. The hospital where Nia did her clinical rotations. Is Nia okay? She missed her shift. We tried calling. She's not answering. And Sarah felt her entire world tilt. Because Nia didn't miss shifts. Not ever. Not in 2 years. Sarah ran back to the apartment. Burst through the door. And saw it. Nia's nursing uniform. Laid out on her bed. Perfectly pressed. Her clinical bag. Packed and ready by the door. Stethoscope. Pens. ID badge. Everything she'd need. Her laptop open on her desk. Still logged into her email. Nia had been planning to go to work. She'd prepared everything the night before, the way she always did. So who sent that text at 6:23 in the morning? And where was Nia? Sarah called Nia's phone. It rang twice. Then went straight to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. She called Nia's parents in Boston. Her younger brother James. Her closest friends. Nobody had heard from her since the night before. At 2 in the afternoon, 8 hours after that strange text, Sarah walked into the Burlington Police Department. Her hands were shaking. Her voice kept breaking. My roommate is missing. Something is wrong. She missed work. She would never miss work. The officer behind the desk barely looked up from his computer. How long has she been gone? Since last night. He sighed. The kind of sigh that said he'd heard this story 1,000 times before. She's 24, right? Yes. An adult. Probably out with a boyfriend. Maybe had too much to drink. Didn't want to come home. Give it 48 hours. They always turn up. Sarah felt rage rising in her chest. She doesn't have a boyfriend. And she doesn't drink during the week because she has clinical rotations. And she would never, ever just disappear without telling someone. The officer looked annoyed. Ma'am, I understand you're worried. But we can't file a missing persons report every time a college student doesn't come home for one night. Like I said, give it 48 hours. 48 hours. The so-called rule that isn't even a real rule. The myth that's cost missing people precious time. Time they didn't have. Sarah left that police station knowing she was on her own. She called Nia's family again. And by nightfall, Nia's parents were in their car, driving 3 hours from Boston to Burlington. Their world was falling apart with every mile. Her younger brother James sat in the back seat, frantically texting every mutual friend he could think of, begging for information, begging for someone to tell him his sister was okay. They arrived at the apartment just before midnight. Margaret Holloway walked through the rooms touching her daughter's things. Her uniform. Her books. Her coffee mug still in the sink. As if touching them could somehow bring Nia back. David Holloway sat at the kitchen table with a notebook. Making lists. Writing down every place Nia might go. Every person she might contact. Organized. Methodical. Trying to keep control when everything felt like it was spinning apart. And that's when James noticed something. Something the police hadn't even bothered to ask about. Where's her car? Nia drove a 2012 silver Honda Civic. Nothing fancy. But reliable. She parked it in the apartment complex lot every single night. James ran outside. Checked every parking space. Every nearby street. Every possible place she might have left it. The car was gone. At 11:47 that night, something happened that would later become crucial to the investigation. Nia's phone pinged. One last time. The location data would later show it came from a rural area 23 miles outside Burlington. A place where Nia had no friends. No family. No connections. No reason to ever be. The ping came from inside an abandoned paper mill. A building that hadn't been used in 6 years. And just like that, this case stopped being about a college student who didn't come home. It became something else entirely. Something darker. More complicated. More dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Now I need you to do something. Think about the people you love. Your sister. Your daughter. Your best friend. Your roommate. How long would it take for you to notice they were gone? How hard would you fight if someone told you to wait 48 hours? Would you take no for an answer? Because Sarah didn't. Nia's family didn't. And that's the only reason this story moves forward. That's the only reason we have any answers at all. If this story is making you think, if it's making you feel something, then leave a comment right now. Tell me about someone in your life who would fight for you the way Sarah fought for Nia. Or tell me about someone you would fight for. Because those bonds matter. Those relationships are what stand between us and the darkness. And we're about to go deep into that darkness together. So let's keep going. Let's find out what happened to Nia Holloway. And let's discover why, 8 years later, her family is still holding on to hope that somewhere out there, their daughter is alive. The next morning, October 8th, Nia's family went back to the police station. This time, they weren't leaving until someone listened. Her father put Nia's photo on the desk. Our daughter is missing. Her car is missing. Her phone last pinged from an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere. This is not a girl out having fun. The shift commander looked at the family's faces. She saw their fear. Their desperation. She assigned a detective to the case. His name was Robert Torres. 15 years on the force. A reputation for being thorough. Torres looked at the timeline and knew this was serious. By noon, police were searching the area where Nia's phone had last pinged. The abandoned paper mill sat at the end of a gravel road. Surrounded by woods. A piece of Vermont's industrial past slowly falling apart. At 1:43 in the afternoon, an officer found it. Nia's car. It was sitting in the parking lot behind the mill. Locked. Windows up. No damage. No signs of a struggle. But when Detective Torres looked inside, his chest got tight. Nia's purse was on the passenger seat. Her phone was next to it. Dead battery. The keys were in the ignition. And her shoes, white sneakers she wore all the time, were on the passenger floor. Torres had worked dozens of missing persons cases. He knew what it meant when someone leaves their shoes. When they leave their keys in the ignition. When they leave their purse and phone. Either they're running from something in total panic. Or they never left that car by choice. He called for forensics. Called for a tow truck. The car needed to be processed immediately. While they waited, Torres walked around the mill. Looking for footprints. Looking for any sign of where Nia might have gone. The ground was soft from rain. But there were no clear prints. No disturbance in the brush. It was like she'd vanished into air. When forensics arrived, they started their work. Dusting for prints. Collecting samples. Documenting everything. And that's when they found something. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back. Nia was 5'3". The seat was positioned for someone at least 5'10". Maybe taller. Whoever drove this car last, it wasn't Nia. Then they found something else. A palm print on the steering wheel. Male. Unknown. Not in any database. This wasn't just a missing person anymore. This was a potential crime scene. Torres authorized a full search. Dogs. Helicopters. Volunteers. They combed every inch of that property. They searched through the night. They found nothing. But Torres couldn't shake a feeling. He was missing something. He went back to basics. Where had Nia been before she disappeared? Who had she talked to? He requested security footage from every camera between Nia's apartment and the mill. A gas station 2 miles from the mill had footage from the previous week. Torres sat in the manager's office, watching grainy video. Hours of it. Then, at 10:34 on October 5th, 2 days before Nia disappeared, her car pulled up. Torres leaned forward. Nia was driving. But something was wrong. She didn't get out to pump gas. She just sat there for almost a minute. Looking around. Checking her mirrors. Looking over her shoulder. Finally, she got out. Walked quickly inside. The interior camera showed her talking to the clerk. She asked him something. He shook his head. She asked again. He shook his head again. She left without buying anything. Got back in her car. Drove away. Torres was about to move on. But then, 30 seconds after Nia left, a dark pickup truck pulled into the exact same spot. A man got out. Baseball cap pulled low. Face hidden. He went inside. Went straight to the same clerk. Asked him something. The clerk pointed in the direction Nia had driven. The man nodded. Got back in his truck. Left the same direction. Someone had been following her. Torres fast-forwarded to October 6th. The night Nia disappeared. At 11:52, just after her Google search about being followed, Nia's car appeared again. This time, she wasn't alone. A man sat in the passenger seat. Face turned away from the camera. Nia got out. Pumped gas. Her movements were stiff. Mechanical. Wrong. She went inside. Bought an energy drink. And something else. A prepaid phone card. She paid in cash. Wouldn't look at the clerk. Then she got back in her car and drove toward the mill. The man never got out. Never showed his face. Torres had the tech team enhance the footage. And that's when they saw it. The man was wearing Nia's nursing school hoodie. The one with the University of Vermont logo. The same hoodie Sarah had seen in Nia's room that morning. Which meant this man had been inside Nia's apartment. He'd taken her things. And he'd been with her in the hours before she vanished. Torres pulled the gas station transaction records. The prepaid phone was activated at 12:07 a.m. Only 3 calls were ever made. First call, 12:09 a.m. To a number in New York. 1 minute, 43 seconds. Second call, 2:34 a.m. Same number. 46 seconds. Third call, 3:15 a.m. To 911. But the call disconnected after 4 seconds. No voice recorded. Just silence. Torres traced the New York number. It belonged to Marcus Chen. 29 years old. Worked in finance in Manhattan. No criminal record. When Torres called him, Marcus sounded confused. Nia Holloway? I don't know anyone by that name. Those calls? Wrong number. I didn't answer. But phone records don't lie. The second call lasted 46 seconds. Someone answered. Torres dug into Marcus's background. And found the connection. Marcus grew up in Burlington. Lived there until he was 18. His childhood home was less than a mile from Nia's apartment. Torres flew to New York that same day. Now, I want you to think about something. How many coincidences does it take before something stops being a coincidence? A childhood connection. Mysterious phone calls in the middle of the night. A 911 call that goes nowhere. What would you think if this was someone you loved? Drop a comment. Tell me what you'd do if you were Nia's family right now. Because the answers they're about to get? They're going to make everything more complicated. The interrogation room was small. Uncomfortable. The kind of place designed to make people want to talk. Marcus Chen sat across from Detective Torres. Expensive suit. Polished shoes. He looked out of place. I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you know Nia Holloway? Marcus shifted in his seat. I told you. I don't know her. Torres slid a photo across the table. Nia's smiling face. Look at it. Really look. Marcus picked up the photo. Stared at it. Then something changed in his face. Wait. Nia. I haven't thought about her in years. So you do know her? I knew her. Past tense. We dated in high school. 2010, 2011, something like that. It ended. We went our separate ways. Then why did she call you twice in the middle of the night? Marcus rubbed his face. Okay. Look. I didn't want to get involved. But yeah, she contacted me. September, maybe early October. Found me on Facebook. Said she needed advice about something serious. Advice about what? She wouldn't say. Not in writing. She wanted to talk on the phone. So we talked a few times. She seemed scared. Kept saying she discovered something. That she didn't know who to trust. And you didn't report this? Report what? An old girlfriend being vague about some problem? I thought maybe it was personal stuff. A breakup. Family issues. Torres pulled out his notebook. Tell me about the calls on October 7th. Marcus took a breath. The first call, just after midnight. She was crying. Panicked. She said, I think I made a mistake. I need help. I don't know who to trust. What did you say? I told her to call the police. And you know what she said? She said, they're part of it. Then she hung up. Torres felt the hair on his neck stand up. And the second call? 2 hours later. She was still crying but quieter. Like she was trying not to be heard. She said, if something happens to me, tell them about the study. What study? I don't know. I asked her. She just kept saying the study. Like I should know. Then the line went dead. Did you call her back? I tried. Went straight to voicemail. I sat there trying to figure out what to do. I thought about calling police in Vermont. But I didn't know where she was. What was happening? I convinced myself she was having some kind of crisis. Torres studied Marcus carefully. Everything about him suggested he was telling the truth. But one thing didn't make sense. She said tell them about the study. Like it was specific. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah. That's what stuck with me. Not a study. The study. Torres left New York with more questions than answers. But he had a direction. If Nia had been involved in some kind of study, something that scared her enough to reach out to an ex from years ago, that's where the truth was. Back in Burlington, Torres went to the University of Vermont Medical Center. He requested Nia's academic records. Her assignments. Any research she'd been part of. The administrator pulled Nia's file. And there it was. A consent form dated August 2017. Participation in a clinical trial. What's this? The administrator adjusted her glasses. The Vitamin study. We partner with pharmaceutical companies sometimes. Give students real-world experience. Nia volunteered to be part of a trial testing a new anxiety medication. Was she taking the medication? No. She was in the control group. Placebo. The students help monitor participants. Watch for side effects. Torres felt something click. Who supervised this? Dr. Richard Voss. Senior faculty. Very respected. I need to talk to him. And I need all documentation for this trial. The administrator's expression changed. Became cautious. The trial was suspended. About a week ago. Right after Nia disappeared, actually. I need those documents. Dr. Voss would have to approve that. Torres called Dr. Voss's office. No answer. Showed up in person. Door locked. Lights off. He was about to get a warrant. But then another nursing student came forward. Her name was Emma Rodriguez. She'd been in classes with Nia. She walked into the police station looking nervous. I don't know if this matters. But Nia told me something a few weeks before she disappeared. About the Vitam trial. Torres brought her into an interview room. Tell me. Emma twisted her hands together. Nia was worried about what she was seeing. People in the medication group were having bad side effects. Really bad. Anxiety attacks. Panic. Some people had seizures. But those effects weren't supposed to happen. Did she report it? Yes. She went to Dr. Voss 3 weeks ago. Told him what she was seeing. He said it was normal. That these things happen in trials. He told her not to discuss it outside the program. But she didn't believe him. She said something was wrong. The numbers didn't add up. She was going to look deeper. Torres requested a warrant for all Vitam trial records. What came back was shocking. Dr. Voss had received over $300,000 in consulting fees from Vitam over 2 years. He had every reason to make sure the trial succeeded. When Torres finally tracked down Dr. Voss, his lawyer handed over a statement. Dr. Voss was invoking his Fifth Amendment right. He would not speak to investigators. The next day, Vitam's lawyers filed to seal all trial records. The day after that, the FBI opened a federal investigation. The case exploded. Local news picked it up. Then national outlets. Missing nursing student uncovers pharmaceutical conspiracy. Online communities went crazy. Reddit had a megathread with thousands of comments. A user called Vermont Truthseeker posted a theory. Nia discovered Vitamin was hiding dangerous side effects. She tried to blow the whistle. Someone silenced her. The theory went viral. 40,000 upvotes. Picked up by podcasters. But then a counter-theory emerged. What if she staged her own disappearance? She had $18,000 in student loans. A recent breakup. What if she just wanted to start over? Nia's family was horrified. Her mother released a statement. Our daughter did not run away. She was excited about her future. These theories are hurtful. But the internet doesn't forget. The theories kept coming. Then, 3 weeks after Nia disappeared, an anonymous tip came in. The voice was distorted. Check the security logs at the nursing school. October 6th. Between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Torres pulled the logs. And there it was. Nia had swiped into the research wing at 11:43 p.m. An area she wasn't authorized to access. She left at 1:34 a.m. Computer records showed she'd accessed the Vitam trial database during those hours. Raw research data. Files only senior researchers should see. The FBI brought in forensics. They reconstructed everything Nia had looked at. She downloaded files to a USB drive at 12:47 a.m. Unredacted adverse event reports. Internal emails. Financial records. The data showed Vitam was hiding serious problems. Seizures. Psychotic episodes. One person tried to harm themselves. All deliberately left out of official reports. At 1:22 a.m., Nia had done something brave. She created a burner email and sent a message to the FDA. Subject, Patient Safety Violation, Vitam Trial BTV, 2017. She attached the evidence. Nia Holloway had become a whistleblower. Torres reviewed security footage from that night. He watched Nia enter at 11:43. Looking nervous but determined. At 1:34, she came out. A small USB drive in her hand. Torres was about to stop the video. But then he saw movement. 47 seconds after Nia left, another person emerged from a different corridor. Following her. The badge scan showed credentials that had been reported stolen 3 weeks earlier. The badge belonged to Gregory Hartwell, a hospital maintenance supervisor. Torres brought Gregory in immediately. The man looked terrified. Where were you October 6th? At work. Overnight shift. 11 to 7. I was there all night. Torres checked the records. Gregory was telling the truth. Your badge was used to access the research wing at 11:45 that night. Gregory's eyes went wide. That's impossible. My badge was stolen. I reported it in September. September 15th, correct? Yes. I came back from break. It was gone. The FBI examined the badge scan from October 6th. The badge had been cloned. Someone made a duplicate. So they could get in without using their own name. Torres pulled security footage from September 14th. It showed Gregory in the break room. Eating lunch. Badge clipped to his belt. He got up for coffee. Left his stuff at the table. 30 seconds later, another person sat down. Dr. Voss's research assistant. Jason Miller. Jason sat there for less than 2 minutes. Looking at his phone. Then he left. Gregory came back 15 minutes later. Looking for his badge. Torres got a warrant for Jason Miller's apartment. What they found changed everything. The apartment was run down. Second floor. It smelled stale. But when Torres walked into the living room, he stopped. The entire wall was covered in photographs. Hundreds of them. All of Nia. Walking to class. At the coffee shop. In the library. Leaving her apartment. At the store. Laughing with friends. Photos taken over months. Maybe longer. All without her knowing. In the bedroom, they found journals. Page after page detailing Nia's routine. What time she left for class. What she wore. Who she talked to. Jason had been studying her. Obsessing over her. They seized his computer. The search history was disturbing. Daily searches for Nia's name. Her social media. Forums about how to approach someone. Disturbing questions about what it means when someone smiles at you. But the most damning thing was a folder labeled September 2017. It had screenshots of the Vitam database. The same files Nia accessed on October 6th. Jason had known about the fraud. And somehow, he'd known Nia was going to expose it. Torres interviewed Nia's classmates. Looking for any connection between her and Jason. Finally, someone remembered. A cafeteria worker named Denise. I saw them talk once. Back in September. It was brief. Maybe 5 minutes. Nia was getting coffee. Jason was behind her in line. They chatted about weather. About school. She was just being nice. But I remember the way he looked at her. Like she just made his whole year. One conversation. 5 minutes. And Jason Miller started following her that same week. Torres now had a stalker who knew about the fraud. Who had access to the building. Who cloned a security badge. In Jason's journals, there were entries from early October. They painted a disturbing picture. Jason believed if he could help Nia with her problem, if he could protect her, she would see him as a hero. She would be grateful. She would love him. He'd seen her accessing the database on security monitors. Instead of reporting it, he saw it as an opportunity. On October 24, Torres arrested Jason Miller. Stalking. Unauthorized computer access. Suspicion of involvement in Nia's disappearance. Jason's lawyer was a public defender who looked exhausted. When she sat down with Jason, he seemed almost relieved. I didn't hurt her. You have to believe me. I would never hurt Nia. Torres sat across from him. Then where is she? I don't know. I swear. You followed her for months. You broke into systems. You cloned a badge. And you expect me to believe you? Jason's hands were shaking. I know how it looks. But I didn't take her. I didn't hurt her. Then tell me what happened. And Jason started talking. According to him, he was monitoring security that night. Like he always did. Hoping to see Nia. When he saw her badge scan into the research wing, he panicked. I knew what she was accessing. I thought if Dr. Voss found out, if the company found out, they'd destroy her. I thought I could stop her. Warn her. So you followed her. I waited outside. When she came out, I approached her. Said I knew what she'd found. That she needed to be careful. She was terrified. She asked how I knew. Why I was there. I tried to explain I was trying to help. But she just backed away and got in her car. And then? I followed her. I was worried. She drove to her apartment. Parked. Ran inside. I sat across the street for about an hour. Then I left. Torres didn't believe him. Not completely. The gas station footage from October 5th shows Nia looking scared. That was you following her. Jason's silence confirmed it. She knew someone was following her. She searched how to tell if you're being followed. You terrorized her. I didn't mean to scare her. I just wanted to be near her. To make sure she was safe. What about October 7th? The text from her phone at 6:23 a.m. I don't know anything about that. You're lying. The footage shows Nia with a man in her car that night. Wearing her hoodie. That was you. Jason shook his head. No. I wasn't with her. I followed her to her apartment and left. I went home. I was logged into my work system from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Torres had tech verify it. Jason's alibi checked out. Which meant someone else had been with Nia. Who else knew about the trial fraud? Jason hesitated. Then whispered. Dr. Voss knew she accessed the files. The system sends alerts. He would have known within minutes. Did Voss have anyone else helping him? I don't know. Maybe. Torres realized they'd been looking at this wrong. Jason was a stalker. A criminal. Someone who invaded Nia's privacy. But he might not be the one who made her disappear. Then Jason's lawyer whispered something to him. Jason's face changed. I want immunity. Full immunity. In exchange, I'll tell you something that will help find her. Torres wanted to reach across the table. But he kept calm. What do you know? Immunity first. It took 2 days to work out the deal. Jason would plead guilty to misdemeanor charges. Get probation. Mandatory treatment. In exchange for full cooperation. When Jason sat back down, he looked at Torres. I know where she went. Jason led police to woods 4 miles from the mill. Deep in the trees where old logging roads had disappeared. The search team moved carefully. Jason in handcuffs leading the way. I found it 3 days after she disappeared. I was searching for her. I know these woods. Used to hike here as a kid. They reached a clearing. A concrete drainage culvert jutted from a hillside. Part of an old water system. Abandoned for years. The entrance was hidden by plants. Almost invisible. Torres approached with a flashlight. The culvert was about 6 feet across. Extended maybe 20 feet before it collapsed. But in that space, someone had made a shelter. A sleeping bag on the ground. Water bottles. Empty granola bar wrappers. A flashlight with dead batteries. And folded on a flat rock, as if placed there deliberately, was Nia's hoodie. Torres lifted it carefully. Underneath was a USB drive in a plastic bag. And underneath that, a piece of paper. Also protected. Handwriting that Nia's family would later confirm was hers. The note said, "If you find this, I left voluntarily. I'm scared but I'm safe. Tell my family I love them and I'm sorry. I'll come back when it's safe. Please don't look for me." And Torres stood there reading it over and over. Forensics documented everything. The USB drive had copies of all the Vitam data. Complete documentation of the fraud. It was her insurance. Her proof. The note was analyzed. Based on the paper and ink, experts determined it was written 2 to 4 days after Nia disappeared. Around October 9th or 10th. Which meant Nia had been alive after her car was found. She'd been hiding. Surviving. And at some point, she decided to leave this evidence and vanish. But Torres had one question. How did Jason know where to find this? In another interview, Jason explained. After she disappeared, I couldn't stop thinking about where she'd go. I knew police found her car. But something felt wrong. Nia was smart. She wouldn't just wander into the woods. She'd have a plan. So you went looking. I know these trails. There are only a few places where someone could hide and have water access. This culvert is one. There's a stream 50 yards north. When I found her stuff, I knew she'd been here. Why didn't you report it? Jason looked down. The note said not to look for her. I thought if I told police, they'd launch a search. Maybe put her in more danger. I thought I was protecting her. By hiding evidence? I know it was wrong. But I was trying to respect what she wanted. Torres didn't buy it. But the evidence was clear. Nia had been there. She'd left a message. She'd left proof. And then she'd walked away. The USB drive became the center of a federal investigation. The FDA launched an audit of Vitamed. Within weeks, the evidence was clear. Vitamed had hidden reports of serious problems. 12 people had seizures. 4 had psychotic episodes. 1 young woman tried to end her own life. All documented internally. None reported to authorities. Dr. Voss had been getting payments that weren't disclosed. He'd actively manipulated data. Recategorized serious reactions as unrelated. The company faced criminal charges. Their stock collapsed. The medication was permanently blocked. In April 2018, Vitamed paid $47 million to settle with the people who'd been harmed. Dr. Voss was arrested in March 2018. He pleaded guilty. Research fraud. Falsification. Conspiracy. 3 years in federal prison. Lost his medical license forever. Jason Miller got probation as part of his deal. But mandatory treatment. A restraining order. Lost his job. His reputation. But none of it brought Nia home. Months turned into years. The case stayed open. In 2019, a border agent reported a woman matching Nia's description trying to cross into Canada. By the time it was investigated, she was gone. In 2021, an anonymous donation came to the nursing program. $50,000 for a scholarship fund. The note card was signed NH. The program named it the Nia Holloway Patient Safety Scholarship. Her parents attended the ceremony. The weight of years without answers showed on their faces. Her mother touched the plaque and whispered, "We know you're out there. Please come home." In 2023, a Reddit user claimed to have seen Nia at a coffee shop in Seattle. Described her in specific detail. Including a scar that had never been public. Said she seemed happy but startled when someone called a name similar to Nia. The post was deleted within hours. Seattle police investigated. Found no one matching her description. Detective Torres retired in 2022. But he never stopped thinking about the case. In interviews, he said, the evidence supports that she's alive. She left that note. She's reached out in small ways. I think she discovered something that went beyond the trial. Something that made her believe her life was in danger even if the fraud was exposed. Marcus Chen gave one interview in 2020. I think about those calls all the time. The fear in her voice. She said they're part of it when I told her to call police. Who was she talking about? I've spent years wondering if I could have done something different. Sarah, Nia's roommate, still lives in Burlington. She keeps a photo of Nia on her fridge. I see her everywhere. Every woman with dark hair. My heart stops. I've never moved apartments. Just in case she comes looking. Emma Rodriguez became a patient safety advocate. She works for a nonprofit monitoring clinical trial ethics. Nia saved lives. Because of what she exposed, that medication never made it to market. Thousands of people never took a drug that could have seriously harmed them. She's a hero. The family holds a vigil every October 7th. Over the years, crowds got smaller. Media attention faded. But her parents are there every time. Holding candles. Holding hope. James, Nia's brother, became a private investigator. Specializes in missing persons. My sister is out there. I believe that. And when she's ready, when the threat is gone, she'll come back. In 2024, someone left flowers at the nursing building on Nia's birthday. White lilies. Her favorite. No card. No name. Security footage showed a woman in a baseball cap and sunglasses. Face never visible. That same year, Nia's mother received an envelope. No return address. Inside was a photograph. A sunset over water. On the back, in handwriting that might have been Nia's, 3 words. I am safe. Her mother keeps that photo on her nightstand. I choose to believe it's from her. I choose to believe my daughter is somewhere watching sunsets. Living a life. Even if it's not the life we planned. I choose to believe that one day, she'll come home. As of 2026, Nia Holloway has been missing for over 8 years. This is a fictional story. But the questions it raises are real. What else did Nia find that night? If the fraud was exposed and resolved, why hasn't she come back? Who was really behind her disappearance? Was it just stalking that scared her? Or was there something bigger? Who was the man in her car? The footage never showed his face. And the most haunting question. Is Nia Holloway still out there? Reading about her own case? Watching vigils from afar? Waiting for a day when she feels safe enough to come home? I want to hear from you. What do you think happened? Is she alive and hiding? Is there something Jason isn't telling us? Is there a third party we don't know about? Leave a comment. Share your theory. Because stories like this, even fictional ones, they make us think about the real people who are missing. The real families waiting for answers. If this story made you think, if it made you feel something, then share it. Not for me. But because awareness matters. Understanding how these cases work matters. Knowing the signs of danger matters. This case file remains fictional. But the search for real missing people continues. And their families are still waiting.